if this book was really authored by God, if it's more than just an historically accurate record of the past that has been reliably handed down to us today, if it's more than that, if it actually is inspired of God, wouldn't you expect it to bear some supernatural characteristic? If it's from God, come on. It's got to have some things that are beyond just amazingly smart people writing. And Christians basically say it absolutely does. And I'm just going to point out a couple of them to you this morning. The first indicator that it's really a supernatural book is the unity of the Bible. In brief, here's how this goes. The Bible was written over a period of 1,500 years, first book to last book. It was written on 3 different continents in 3 different languages by 40 different people. Some of those people were politicians, some were pastors, some were scholars, some were slaves, some were IRS agents, some were fishermen, some were kings, others were peasants. When they wrote in all different kinds of circumstances, in victory and defeat, in joy and depression, in confusion and in enlightenment and epiphany. They wrote in prosperity and in need. They wrote in war and in peace, all different times. And here's the amazing thing. When you put the Bible together, written by all those people in all those circumstances, in all those countries, in all those languages, you look at it, you read it and go, man, it's got a common theme. It's got a common storyline from beginning to end. It unfolds like a novel. It unfolds like a great movie all the way through. And get this, and get it well. There is not one genuine contradiction in the Bible. Not one. Here's what I do now when people say, well, I don't like to read the Bible, it's full of contradictions. You know what my response is now? I say, oh, good point. Give me your top 3. Do you know what I get? Well, there's lots. Yeah, I know, but what are the top 3 that really bug you? Crickets chirping in the background. Look, if you have one, let's talk about it. But there is not one genuine contradiction in all the Bible. And what that does is it testifies, 1,500 years, all those people, all circumstances, different walks of life, different education, different backgrounds, different cultures, everything. And yet it looks like it was written by a single mind, with a single theme, saying the same thing on controversial topics of life and relationships and politics and spirituality and eternity. And it all agrees. Now that's kind of like, whoa. Almost sounds supernatural. Oh, here's another indicator that maybe the Bible is supernatural. Fulfilled prophecy in the Bible. Hey, look, if somebody could predict the future and they could do it consistently, no, they did it perfectly, flawlessly, in detail, would you say something supernatural is going on? If I stood up here and said, next week's lotto numbers are, and then I gave them to you and next week that's what they were, you could go, man, that was unbelievably lucky. But what if the following week I did the same thing? And then the week of that, the same thing. Would you start going, dude, the guy really does hear from God? He knows the future. Because if you can predict the future in detail, accurately, time and time again, you will go, man, that's not natural. There's something supernatural going on there. That's what the Bible is like when it comes to fulfilled prophecy. I'm only going to talk about 2 areas. And I'm going to talk about it really fast. So here we go. And the reason I'm going to talk about these is only because of this. These are prophecies that were contained in the Old Testament, which even Bible critics know and say was completed and circulated 400 years before Jesus. And their fulfillment took place at or shortly after the time of Christ. So there's no way you can go, oh, you just made that up after it happened and made it sound like a prophecy. No, this was part of circulating record. Everybody agrees 400 years before they were actually fulfilled. Okay, and here we go, because this stuff is so cool. Let's just take 8 fulfilled prophecies about the life of Jesus, and let's apply the law of scientific probability to see whether or not that was chance or supernatural. The prophet, let's just take, there are 61 prophecies about Jesus that were fulfilled. We're just going to take 8 of the 61. What are the chances are that those 8 prophecies could specifically be fulfilled and attested to by secular historians in the life of you know what the odds of those 8 coming true are? According to the laws of scientific probability, it's 1 in 100 trillion. Sounds like I'm talking about the national debt. 1 in 100 trillion. Do you know what? I know what 100 trillion is? If you take the state of Texas, is here, Lindsay? Yeah. Yo, Texas. You take the state of the largest, almost 270,000 square miles, state of Texas. And you were to take silver dollars, you could cover the state of Texas in silver dollars 2 feet deep. That's 100,000 or 100 trillion silver dollars. What would be the odds that if one of those silver dollars had a special mark on it that was somewhere in the 2 feet deep pile of silver dollars covering the state of Texas? What are the odds you could find it on your first guess? Those are the odds, according to the law of probability, that those 8, just the 8, could happen by coincidence or chance. If we take the 48 major prophecies about Jesus, not all 61, the 48 that are kind of considered the really big ones, that again even secular historians are saying, oh God, what are the odds that those could have happened? And it's 1 in 10 to the 157th power. I cannot comprehend that number. Frankly, I struggle with the number 10. I can't comprehend that number. And really, we have to use something smaller than a silver dollar to get it on that. So let's use an electron, okay? Because apparently they're really small. Okay? If we stacked up electrons one on top of another to make a column 1 inch long, just 1 inch, and we were going to count the number of electrons in 1 inch, and we could count at the rate at 250 a second, a minute. That's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like that. And we could just keep counting. Do you know how long it would take for us to count the number of electrons in a 1 inch line? It would take us 19 million years to count the electrons in a 1 inch line. Now, if one of those electrons, and it would take you 19 million years to count, at 250 counted per minute, if one of them was specially marked, what would the odds be you could fit that marked one on your first guess? What would the odds be? Woo! That's the same odds that those 48 prophecies could be fulfilled by Jesus. And I'm looking at that going, okay, dude, at what point do we say it's not just coincidence? It's fascinating, and this is the other one. They got about the life of Jesus. You've got some detailed prophecies about certain cities. Old Testament said this is going to happen. It happened around the kind of time of Christ. Like one of them was the city of Tyre, and the ancient prophecy was that it would be conquered in stages, scraped to bare bones. The debris would be thrown into the sea because it was a port city on the Mediterranean, and that fishermen would dry their nets on the bare rocks. And if you go to ancient Tyre today, you will see the bare rock. You can take underwater tours to see the debris thrown into the sea. There is no city being built there, but fishermen fish in the area, and they take their nets and they dry them on the rock. There are 11 such prophecies, predictions like that found in the Old Testament, fulfilled at or shortly after the time of Christ. What are the odds that those details in those 11 prophecies could all happen and become true? And the odds are 1 in 5 times 10 to the 59th power. That's actually, that number is even harder. Okay, let's go back to silver dollars. The sun. Let's say the sun's a piggy bank. The sun has a million times greater volume than planet Earth. Let's say the sun was a piggy bank. If we had 1 in 5 times 10 to the 59th power number of silver dollars, do you think that we could fill the entire sun with all those silver dollars? Yes. You know what the problem is? We'd have silver dollars left over.